Section number 1 has 4 subsections and we'll be going into each of them with great depth. But first, what will be part of my class? First thing is that we will be understanding the provisions which we have to. After that, we will be going beyond the Act. Beyond the Act means how is Section 1 connected to the other laws? How is Section 1 connected in the real world? So this is what we need to understand, and not just understanding the Act or what is written there. That is the easiest part. But tomorrow when you are a professional, you may be a chartered accountant, company secretary, cost management accounting, whatever you do, you are applying all these provisions in the real world. And that is why, with my experience of being in practice, I'll be sharing not only what is the provision, and we'll be going beyond the Act, the connections between the other laws, and most importantly, we'll be understanding the practical aspects of how it is applied in the real world. The structure of this lesson is going to be divided into 7 parts. The first one is the background and the context of section number 1. Then we go into the legislative intention. That means what was in the mind of the people who drafted the law, that is the Parliament of India. Why did they draft section number 1 in the manner in which it is there right now? Then we go into the detailed analysis of every single sentence, comma, punctuation of the provision of section number 1. After that, we will be going into the practical application and what are the things you should keep in mind when you understand section number 1. Then we quickly have a revision and a summary of what is the section, and then I will also discuss the frequently asked questions or the same concept in question answer format. Then finally we will be concluding with all our understanding which we have done with the conclusion, where we finally get the concept map of this particular section number 1. This way you will be perfect in section number 1. So basically, once we have done all this, the learning outcomes of this lesson will be that you will know what is section number 1, what is the context and background, you will know how we should apply in the real world, how can we connect the dots with section number 1 with other sections. You will understand that when you are studying other provisions of company law. So I will be telling all this, and this will be, and this has to be, our learning outcome by the end of this lesson. Now let us go into section number 1, where we analyze this in 7 different angles. And the first one is the background and the context. So what is this background and the context? In section number 1, basically this section number 1, out of all the 470 sections of Companies Act, acts like the seed for all other sections. What do you mean by seed for all other sections? What kind of seed are we talking about? That means, what is the seed? Seed gives life. From a seed we have a plant, we have a tree, then we have fruit, we have flowers. All of this is because of the seed, right? Exactly like that, section number 1 acts like the seed when we talk about Companies Act. That is the simple thing. But when we look at the background, we should always understand the Companies Act of 1956. Companies Act of 1956 was very, very complicated in terms of how that section number 1 was designed in Companies Act 1956. That is why when Companies Act 2013 came, we should understand that the main intention was to keep it as simple as possible. Already we had a very challenging and somewhat confusing section number 1 in 1956 Act, right? Then, once we understand the background and the context, we need to go to the legislative intention. That means, what was in the mind of the people who drafted the law? Yes, that is the Parliament. So basically we all know that the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha jointly will pass bills. That is, first they draft and then there is a bill and finally it becomes Act. So what was in their mind when they drafted the law? Why did they draft the law? And each section, subsection, clause, subclause has some intention behind it. And what is that intention? We need to understand. When we know what is the intention, it is easy to understand the law, right? So let us try and understand what is the legislative intention of section number 1. It is very, very simple. To ensure that section 1 keeps the Companies Act 2013 very dynamic. What do you mean dynamic? See, dynamic is also where we want flexibility. We should be able to make changes anytime. The amendment procedure should be easy. And for all this, we should have an enabling provision. We should have an enabling provision. So this was in the mind. Please understand, this was in the mind of the people who drafted the law. That is the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha of India when they were discussing and drafting the Companies Act of 2013. Very important for us to understand. And this is often missed out, especially when we have these corporate law classes. That's also because most of the corporate law teachers are not in practice and they might have missed it. Anyway, we'll not do that. So, the legislative intention, or what was in the mind of the people who drafted the law, was to make sure that section number 1 of 2013 Companies Act is very flexible, is very dynamic. We can make the changes whenever we want, and that provision to make changes, we should have the power, right? The power should be there. In law, you should have the authority, we should have the power. Where is it enabled? To do anything, you need authority under law. And the Companies Act 2013 in section number 1 is giving authority where the entire Companies Act will become flexible, will become dynamic, and we'll understand how that is done. So understand this basic concept, because section number 1, in brief I'll tell you, later we'll go in depth. It says that different sections of Companies Act can be effective from different dates. Different sections of Companies Act can be effective from different dates. This one provision itself is making Companies Act extremely dynamic, extremely flexible, and very, very modular. That is why section number 1, we need to know the background and the context. So now we understood the legislative intention, correct? Then we also understood what was the background and context in relation to Companies Act 1956. We already know this. Now we will come to the third aspect of the detailed analysis of this particular section. So what is this section? So section number 1, it is basically in the chapter number 1 of Companies Act. So Companies Act, you should know, has 29 chapters, correct? It has 29 chapters, and as you can see, the first chapter is what we call as preliminary. So did you know first chapter was called preliminary? Did you really know that first chapter was called preliminary? There are 29 chapters. In that, the first chapter has 2 sections, section number 1 and section number 2. And these 2 sections together, the name of this chapter is preliminary. Just a fun fact for you. So what is the name of section 1? So every act has a name, correct? We call that as the short title. So for section number 1, is there any name? So section number 1 is basically talking about short title, extent, commencement and application. So we are talking about 4 different things in section number 1. It's also easy to remember there are 4 subsections for section number 1, so that we'll easily understand, right? So section number 1, when we look at it here, what does it do? Section number 1, it basically says that Companies Act 2013 is consolidating different company laws. All the different company laws together, it is consolidating. So what is it? So Companies Act of 2013 is what? It is an act to consolidate and amend law relating to companies. So what do you mean by consolidate and amend law relating to companies? It simply means that whatever law relating to companies in India are there, especially the core provisions, for a company to be regulated, you need to have one unified law. You cannot have 100 laws. Of course, one company may have to adhere and comply with different corporate laws. But the core law under which a company is registered, a company will run, a company will raise funds, a company will appoint directors, a company will transfer shares, company will conduct meetings, and company may even close or wind up. For that, you need one core law. And that is the Companies Act. So what is the Companies Act? As you can see, section 1 says that it is an act to consolidate what? the different laws relating to company law we are consolidating. Okay, consolidate and amend the law relating to companies. All the laws relating to companies we are consolidating and amending, and that is the Companies Act of 2013. So now in this we have chapter number 1. Chapter number 1 I told you is called as preliminary, right? So what is this preliminary? The English meaning of preliminary, the dictionary meaning is, if you have a look at it here, it says preceding or done in preparation for something fuller or more important. Preceding or done in preparation for something fuller or more important. So preliminary, we need to understand section number 1. What does section number 1 talk about? It talks about the short title, the extent, the commencement and application. So in simple words, what does it talk about? The name of the act, correct? Then the geographical area of the applicability of this act, from when each section of this act will become applicable, and to which companies this act will be applicable. Yes, these are the 4 broad things. If you understand this, section number 1 will become easy. And by now you may be thinking, section number 1 has so much great depth. Yes, there's a lot of depth. In fact, we will not be even able to go to all the aspects of section number 1. If you go, we can even talk about it for 1 complete month. Yes, but here we are not judges. We are just trying to understand the law. We are not interpreting the law to decide some case before us. So at least let us understand in great depth. That is our job, right? So we talk about all these 4 aspects. In more simple words, if I have to say, section number 1 talks about the name, place, animal, thing. No, it is not name, place, animal, thing. The name, place, time, and to which companies this Companies Act applies. So what is the name, what is the place, what is the time, and which are the companies which applies to. So now let us come to the proper understanding so that you will know what is section number 1. First is section number 1, subsection 1. Section number 1, subsection 1 says, this act may be called the Companies Act of 2013. So let us analyze this. We need to analyze this in depth and we need to understand what it means. This act, what is this act? Companies Act of 2013. May be called. So you can call what you like, but the government has said that this is the Companies Act of 2013. So in general, this is what colloquially and as per law, in general, we are going to call this the Companies Act of 2013. Yes. The one and only law relating to companies in India, the supreme law relating to companies, to regulate companies, is this. So that is why they say this act may be called the Companies Act. It is the, when you say, even one single word makes a huge difference when we understand law. It is not just Companies Act, it is the Companies Act. That means in India, the primary law is just one, and that is the Companies Act of 2013. So not 1956, not 1913, but the Companies Act of 2013. That is what it means. So what did we understand in section 1, subsection 1? We understood that this act is the Companies Act of 2013, and this is the first ever provision. Out of 470 sections of Companies Act, this is the first thing which you are studying, and you better make a good start, right? So this act is called as the Companies Act 2013. Next, section number 1, subsection 2. Let us come to section number 1, subsection 2. We are doing a detailed analysis of the entire provisions of section number 1, and we better be very good at it, right? It extends to the whole of India. So what is it? The Companies Act 2013 applies to, extends to means applies to the whole. That is, this is the geographical boundaries of India. So for this, you need to understand what does Indian government recognize as the geographical boundaries of India. Especially now, in the recent past, we have lot of changes in which the geographical boundaries of India is there. So according to India, see, the most controversial place on the world is Jammu and Kashmir, correct? In terms of geography, most controversial place. One part China says it is ours, the other part Pakistan says it is ours, then India says the whole thing is our country, right? Of course, as an Indian, we will subscribe to the Indian government's view, and we say that the entire Jammu and Kashmir, that is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, that is Aksai Chin, and the entire Jammu, Ladakh, and all this region, Kashmir, is part of India. This is according to Indian government. But Pakistan government or Chinese government or some other country government may not recognize this. And we don't care. For Companies Act, generally also we don't care, but for Companies Act 2013, we need to understand that whatever is the geographical boundary of India as per the Indian government, that becomes the applicability, the area in which this act is going to apply. Right? Let us try to understand. So this act applies to the whole of India. So the whole of India is the geographical boundaries of India as recognized by the government of India. Now that we understood section number 1, subsection 1 and subsection 2, let us move to subsection 3. Right? So very, very interesting. Section number 1, subsection 3. This section shall come into force at once. That is the first thing they are telling here. So what does that mean? Section number 1 will come into force on the date when this act was notified. When was that? 29th August of 2013. So what are they saying? This section shall come into force at once. Once means twice, thrice, force. No, not like that. Once means the date on which this particular act was notified. And that is 29th of August 2013. So section number 1 comes into force on 29th of August 2013. And see, we are going by every single line, every single comma. Only then we'll understand. So what are they saying? This section shall come into force at once, and the remaining provisions of this act shall come into force on. So what is remaining provisions? Our section number 2 to section number 470 of the act. When will they come into force? On. On means at what time or when it will come into force. Such date as the central government may. So any date which the MCA. So MCA is basically the ministry, correct? Where the central government's all matters relating to corporate affairs is dealt with. So the Ministry of Corporate Affairs will make sure that they will give the notification. So let us look at it. So this section shall come into force at once, and the remaining provisions of the act shall come into force on such date as the central government may by notification. Central government may by notification. So what is that? In simple language, how do we understand that? Section number 1 will come into force on 29th August 2013. Section number 2 to 470, when it will come on any date which the MCA will tell in future. Which MCA will tell in future. How it will come? By way of notification. So it will come into force by way of notification. Right? So the important word for us here is come into force. That means when is it applicable for all the companies? When should companies follow it? That is important. Come into force means from when should the companies follow it? There are 470 sections in Companies Act. Should we follow all the sections from 29th August 2013? Just think for one moment. Should we follow all the sections of Companies Act 2013 from 29th August 2013? Just think. By whatever we have done so far, the concepts which I have told you. The answer is no. Why? Just now we studied, correct? This section will come into force at once, and the remaining provisions will come into force on such date as the central government may by notification. So central government can tell in a future date in the official gazette, and they can give different dates for different section. So the date mentioned in the official gazette will be the date when the section will be applicable. So let us take an example. So different provisions. For example, see, this is just for example, okay? Different provisions of this act. That means section 45 can be given effective date from 2015. Section 74 can be given effective date from 2016. Section 86 can be given effective date from 2019. You can go on. Section 402 can be given effective date from 2020. Whatever. Why? This is enabled in section number 1. That is the whole concept. The entire power to make sure that different sections can have different dates from which it will become applicable is in the hands of section 1 subsection 3, right? That is what we need to understand. So it says this section shall come into force at once, and the remaining provisions of the Act shall come into force on such date as the central government way by notification in the official gazette appoint, and different dates may be appointed. This is the most important. Different dates can be appointed for different sections of this Act. That is what I told you. Section 402, one day you can give. Then section 45 you can give 1 day. Section 128 you can give 1 day. Section 113 you can give 1 day. I'm just giving you example. As and when required. Now, you will ask me, why will they want different dates for different section? You are adding the confusion. So here we need a little bit of history. History in the sense, when we look at Companies Act 1956, we did not completely repeal Companies Act 1956 and bring in Companies Act 2013. So, Companies Act 1956, in fact, even as of now, provisions relating to producer companies is as per Companies Act 1956. We don't have the word producer company in Companies Act 2013. That means there are provisions in Companies Act 1956 effective even now. So we have that, and then 2013 Act came together. So when two acts came together, the government could not have a provision where we simply throw old act and bring a new act. Also, there was a problem with respect to the constitutional validity of NCLT that was pending before the Supreme Court. So when all this happened, that was the historical part, plus also to keep this Companies Act dynamic, to make sure that in future we don't know what may happen. We don't want to go back every time to Parliament and keep amending. That's a very lengthy procedure. So government thought, let us have a provision, a very novel provision, where we'll say section number 1 empowers. It empowers the necessity and the possibility of giving different dates for different section from which it will become effective date. So section 1 to 470 is not going to be from the same date. Yes, this is very crucial for us to understand. So that is what this provision talks about. Yes. So any reference to any provision to the commencement of this act shall be construed as a reference to the coming into force of that section. So what are they saying? So different date can be given for different provisions. We understood that. So what does that mean in simple language? To answer the question of when did the section come into force, we need to look into the effective dates. This is the Companies Act. So when we look at it, in the MCA website, there is effective date, correct? So if you see here, for every section, they have given a different effective date. So let us say, for example, section number 44, that is coming to force from the 12th of September 2013. But if you see here, section number 48 is coming into force on 15th December 2016, correct? Like that, you can go and see different sections of Companies Act, and you will be getting different dates where it is applicable. So if you see here one more thing, we have section number 46. So section number 46 comes into force on 1st April 2014. So that is how this works. So what are we understanding? So different dates can be given, different provisions can be given, different dates for implementation of this effective date, correct? So now if there is any reference to from when did this provision come into force, we need to construe. So that shall be construed. Construed means interpreted. It will be interpreted as the date from which it is in the official gazette. That is most important. Okay. From which date any section is applicable? From the date on which it was given in the official gazette. Simple logic. Whatever we studied, that is what it means in simple words. Okay. Yeah, the date in the official gazette will be the date from which that section or provision will come into force. So for any section, so somebody will ask you, when did section 48 come into force? So you should say, let me check the official gazette. Of course, MCA website has made your life easy and they've given the effective date for each of the provisions. But that list they have prepared, again based on the official gazette. So what does it mean? Let me give you a PowerPoint for you to understand. Provision, what does the word provision mean? Section, subsection, clause, subclause and proviso. So what does it mean? Let us just read this all together at once so that we understand in an easy manner, right? So when we look at section 1 subsection 3, this section shall come into force at once. Okay, we know understood that. And remaining provisions, that is section 2 to 470, will come into force in the future. How? By way of notification in the official gazette. And moreover, different dates can be given for different provisions. And the most important document is official gazette. So any reference to the provision, if somebody asks you, what is the question they'll ask? When did this section come into force? What should you tell them? I have to see the official gazette. And it shall be interpreted as the reference to coming to force of that provision from the date of official gazette. So the date in which the official gazette mentions as to when that section is there, we need to see. So when we say the word provision, it means anything. So please understand one important thing we need to know. So one section can have different subsections and clauses. So each subsection, each clause can have a different effective date. Very important for you to understand. So when you read the law, that is what it means. Different provisions can have different date. They are not saying different section can have different date. So one section can have one date. The subsection of that section can have different date. The clause of that section can have another date. So in one section only you can have 5 to 6 different dates from which it is applicable. That is possible because it is empowered by section 1 subsection 3. If you said that, very good. So that is important for us to know, right? So now we will come to section 1 subsection 4. Section 1 subsection 4, basically it talks about the simple concept of to whom does this act applicable. Okay, now we understood what is Companies Act. It extends to whole of India. Which date, which provision will come into force, and that is been given authority in section 1. Okay, all this okay. To whom does this apply? You should think, please think, to whom does this act apply? We understood the geographical boundary of India, but it should apply to some people, no? Who are those people? Those people will understand now. Okay? The provisions of this act shall apply to whom? Companies incorporated under this act. What is this act? Companies Act 2013. So, section 1 to section 470 of Companies Act will apply to all the companies which are incorporated, means registered, started under this act. Okay? Or any other previous company law. Not only this, what if this is 2013 Act? You'll say, sir, Tata started more than 100 years ago. Does it mean Companies Act 2013 is not applicable to Tata and Sons and their entire group? Or for that matter, all the companies are incorporated before 2013 except recent ones. So, companies incorporated under this act or any other previous company law. So, we need to understand what is previous company law. This is the depth we need to go. Section 2, subsection 67 talks about the definition of previous company law. So, as you can see, previous company law means any of the laws specified below. So many laws are there. Let's have a quick glance. Correct? So it has the provisions relating to all the provisions of Companies Act 1866, Companies Act 1882, Companies Act 1913, Companies Act 1956, then any law corresponding to the acts which we have come into force, right? All these provisions are there. We don't have to go to each one of that, but just trying to make you understand what are all the things. If you look at this, the Portuguese Commercial Code. So if there was any company under the Portuguese Commercial Code of Goa was ruled by the Portuguese, right? And that time if any companies was incorporated and that is still there, even to them this act will apply. Registration of Companies Sikkim Act. Of course, this provision I have given a star mark, it is not yet notified. But if you see here, for all these people, this particular act will be applicable. Very crucial for us to understand. So, what are they saying here? Companies Act will be applicable to whom? Companies under this act or any other previous company law. Correct? Then, to whom else does it apply? Insurance companies, banking companies, electricity supply companies. We need to understand this properly. So here we need to understand that how is it applicable to insurance, banking and other companies. Let us have a brief understanding over here. Okay. So as you can see, insurance companies, except in so far as the provisions are inconsistent with Insurance Act. So what does this mean? It means Companies Act 2013 applies to insurance companies, but if there are any provisions in Insurance Companies Act which is contradictory, okay, which is contradictory to Companies Act 2013, then those provisions will not apply to those insurance companies. Then banking companies, this is the easiest example. So Companies Act applies to banking companies, correct, except in so far as the said provisions are inconsistent with Banking Regulation Act. See, mainly when we look at section 73 relating to deposits and all that, here what will happen? The banking business is mainly deposits and loans. So you cannot have very huge rules and regulations like how a normal private or public company has. So like for example, in private company, you cannot accept deposits from public. Then if it's a public company, private company, you can't accept deposits from public. For a public company, what will happen? You can accept deposits, but there are a lot of rules because you are accepting deposits not as your main business of accepting deposit and giving the interest, but you are accepting deposit for your business requirement. That is why there are a lot of rules relating to that, right? So same way we have companies which is generating electricity. So here also companies engaged in generation of electricity, even for them, whatever provisions are inconsistent with the Companies Act 2013 with Electricity Act, those provisions will not apply. So in simple words, what does it mean? So Companies Act has 470 sections. Okay. Then let us say Banking Regulation Act we have, correct? So Banking Regulation Act has some provisions. So as let us say there is a bank. So the bank has to follow Companies Act 2013 470 sections and the Banking Regulation Act 1949. But there could be some sections which are on common topics, okay, like for example deposits and loans. So the Companies Act is designed keeping in mind private companies, public company who will take deposits for their business purpose. But for banking company, their main business is deposit. So the same level of law and the scrutiny cannot apply to both the banking companies and the regular companies. So that is why the provisions which is inconsistent. So what is deposit related provisions is inconsistent. What inconsistent? What is in Companies Act and what is in Banking Regulation Act is opposite of each other. That time the bank should follow which law? It should follow only the Banking Regulation Act and not the Companies Act. Simple. So if you look at it, what does it mean? If you see here, the companies, that is, if you see here, this provisions of this act shall apply to, it will apply to whom? Banking companies, you should know, but except in so far as the said provisions are inconsistent with Banking Regulation Act. So where it is inconsistent, that one you should not worry. Correct? You don't have to follow the Companies Act. You can follow Banking Regulation Act. So that is how it is going to work. Same way, if you go further, we are understanding that we have other companies, which is any other company governed by special act. So for example, like LIC and all, so that's a special act. We have LIC Act. So even for them, this Companies Act will apply, except so far as the provisions are inconsistent with that special act. Same concept will apply. Then also this can apply to any body corporate incorporated under any act for the time being in force, that is which is effective, as the central government may by notification tell. So central government can tell which other acts, which other companies to which this Companies Act will apply. So simple logic, government can tell which other companies, such other body corporate or company which is incorporated by any act, they're saying any act, they have to follow the Companies Act 2013. So even foreign companies are registered in foreign, but they have to follow the Companies Act of 2013 if they do any business in India. So that is how the logic is going to work. So now we understood that. Now we come to the practical application, the fourth concept. So please understand compliance with respect to NCLT. So we understood the background and context, legislative intention. Then we also understood the detailed provisions. That is the bulk or meat of this lesson. And then we are going to the fourth aspect, the practical application. So what practical application? Just to make you understand how section 1 you should understand. Compliance with respect to NCLT. So NCLT provisions 407 to 434 is completely dependent on section 1 subsection 3. Why? NCLT did not become effective from 2013. There was a case pending in Supreme Court, I told you. Because of section 1 subsection 3, when that case was resolved completely and they said that NCLT can be constitutionally valid, that time the sections 407 to 434 came into effect. So that is how this practical aspect you need to analyze. Now let us have a quick summary or revision of what we have done so far of this particular provision. So we understood mainly what is section number 1, what is the Companies Act, to consolidate and amend law relating to companies in India, correct? Then we understood preliminary, that is having section 1 and 2. Then the 4 aspects, name, place, time, and to which companies the section 1 applies. We understood all of this in great depth. Then we understood all the provisions of section number 1, that is effective date concept, correct? And which are the companies to which this entire provisions apply. We understood all of this, correct? That is the quick revision. Now you should think. See, it is not just that I'm going to teach and you should just be listening. You should think now. When you study this, the common FAQs, this is not exam questions, this is the FAQs about the concept. When you think like this, the concept becomes clear for you. So what are the things you should think for? I'm giving you example. Please frame more questions of your own. That way the concept becomes clear. What is unique about section number 1? Just think about it. What is unique about section number 1? Different dates can be given for different provisions. That is one thing which I am telling you. You come up with your own. When did section 1 come into force? That is understood. 29th August 2013. How is this section relevant to other sections? Because this section is like the seed, I told you, no? If this enabling provision is not there in section 1, most other sections can't get the correct effective date. To whom does section to the Companies Act 2013 apply? We understood companies under this act, previous law, body corporate, banking company, electricity company, and even the insurance companies, correct? What is the concept of different dates for different provisions? So every section can have a different date from which it becomes effective. We have to refer the official gazette. Exactly. What is previous company law? Section 2, subsection 67 talks about all the different laws under which India had for companies and the registration procedures. Correct? So for all those companies also, Companies Act 2013 will apply, including that Portuguese, I told you, no, the companies which was registered during Portuguese time, Portuguese code. What is a special act? For example, like LIC, it's a special act. So even for them, Companies Act is applicable. But if there is contradiction between Companies Act and that LIC Act, the LIC will follow the LIC Act. It will not follow those inconsistent provisions with Companies Act. Other provisions of Companies Act they will follow. Only inconsistent provisions they will not follow. Yes. What are the 4 things that section 1 talks about? We already understood that. Correct? The name, the place, the geographical area, the different dates, and to which companies this whole act will apply. What is chapter 1 of Companies Act named as? Preliminary. Yes. What is an effective date? The date from which the law comes into force. This is how we should understand. That is the 6th part. The 7th and final part, which I told you will be part of my entire classes, is the concept relating to concept map. So let us look at the concept map for section number 1. So the entire concept, it is concept, not provisions. This is not explanation. This is a concept map. So what is a concept map? It tells you all the concepts involved in that particular topic. So what are the concepts here? The 4 main concepts are what? The name, the place, the time, and to which companies applies. That is section number 1 and the subsection 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then when do Companies Act 2013 sections become effective? So when does it become effective? The next concept, different dates for different sections. This is the concept we need to understand. Then the next concept is, what concept? Kind of companies, to which companies this whole act will apply. Private company, public company, producer company, Nidhi company, old companies means companies under previous company laws. So many are there. Section 8, OPC, government, dormant. So many things are there just in this one section 1 subsection 4. That is a concept for you in the concept map. Then the next concept you should know is central government has authority, that is through the MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, to fix the dates for which the law will be applicable. They fix the date from which that law will be applicable. So different dates have different provisions have different dates for applicability. So that is concept map of section number 1. So that becomes to the final conclusion which we are doing. Yes, conclusion of the entire section. So this is how you need to understand each and every provision of Companies Act with 7 different angles which I told you. So now we have understood section number 1 in great detail. You must be wondering, really are there so many things related to section number 1? Yes, and this is the same level of depth we need to go for every section of Companies Act 2013 or any corporate law that we study. This is what is required and expected out of a professional tomorrow. Let us not forget, why are we studying? Please go beyond exams. Yes, the focus right now before all of us is exams. You need to go clear your exams which is coming up. But more than exam, we are studying all this to apply these concepts tomorrow in the real corporate world. And that is why we went in depth into section number 1, and every lesson we are going to go like this. They said devil lies in the detail, and we need to go fully in depth to understand some concepts, correct? But still, if you go with all this depth, you're still only going to get the devil. But the way I have designed my entire corporate law classes is that not only you'll understand the devil in the details, but you'll also see God. That is just an analogy. That means not only we are understanding everything, but we are understanding the application of it, and the joy of learning will really come about when we learn it in this style and in this fashion. So if you really like this lesson, please make sure that you enroll for my course where we study all the provisions in great depth and also have the practical application. Of course, we will be studying for exam, and I'll be giving you exam tips, how you should study, how you should write, what are the ways to present the answer in a law paper. These are almost certain, and these are something which we'll definitely do. But I don't want to stop with that. That is why we'll be studying all the provisions, we'll be studying the background, we'll be studying the intention of the law, what is the legislative intention, what is the practical application, we'll be summarizing it, we'll be doing the FAQs. We'll also make sure that we get a clear concept map of each particular thing. Beyond that, we'll study the questions which were asked in the previous exam and how that questions have to be approached by you, and finally you will be confident with corporate law. So I invite you to join me and let us learn corporate law together.